Hello, everyone. I wanted to give a quick disclaimer. This episode's quality is not optimal, but because it is jam-packed with some good content and quality information, we still wanted to bring it live and put it out there. Just listen to the content and the information that's included in it and enjoy. And thank you for understanding.
This is the Veteran Woman Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to empowering, inspiring, and encouraging veteran women to overcome their struggles and celebrate their successes. Now, here's your host, the one and only Ariel Renal.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Veteran Woman Podcast. I am your host, Ariel, and today we have Lenita Cornett. I hope I said your name right.
Lenita Cornett. Yes, ma'am.
Lenita Cornett on the phone. I am so excited to talk to her. This is the first interview with an active duty military person that I've conducted as of yet. So this should be interesting. I'm very, very excited. We've been connected on Facebook for a while now, and I'm glad to finally virtually meet her. Before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about Lenita. She's a senior military leader and trainer in the U.S. Army, and she has been doing this and actively serving our country for 21 years. Thank you so much for your service.
Oh, thank you.
In 95, she decided to follow her father's footsteps. She was an Army brat out of Louisiana. And she came in and served as automated logistical specialist. Is that still what you do?
Yes.
All righty. So
92 Alpha.
92 Alpha. All right. And of course, as a military brat, you learn about diversity, other cultures, self-development, all kinds of stuff. Some of her hobbies include singing, dancing, listening to music, networking, and building relationships with men and women in diverse areas of business. I love that because building relationships is huge, especially nowadays. We don't get to touch and build relationships like we used to. It's all online and over the phone. So having that touch and building that morale in those relationships are very important. Lenita joined forces with a plethora of active duty female senior non-commissioned officers, or senior NCOs, for those of us who speak military, to participate in providing mentorship forums to junior soldiers and leaders through social media. In 2014, roughly 3 years ago, she collaborated with the Women's Mentorship Network. And through that, she provided over 18 years of her experience to active duty female enlisted officers and civilians. So that's amazing. And of course, you are a true role model. In 2014 through 2015, she was recognized and inducted by the National Association of Professional Women as its VIP Woman of the Year Circle. Congratulations. She's also a co-author of Camouflage Sisters, revealing struggles of the Black women's military experience. And she's an aspiring transformational life coach and strategist. That is a mouthful. I think I swallowed some of those words in there somewhere. But Lenita, without further ado, welcome, welcome, welcome. And please tell us a little more about yourself beyond your bio.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. To not go into the bio, I do have to say that I have served for 21 years active duty. When we say 92 Alpha, that's logistics. So supply chain management, for those that don't know what logistics is. So I love the military. That's why I'm still in. You know, I said I would do like 4 years when I first started. And after that, after I build, every year just got better and better. As I understood the military and knew more about it, I said, hey, this is what I want to do. So I made it my career. So right now I'm actually stationed at Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. So my current position is an observed coach trainer for National Guard and Reserve units.
Oh, wow.
I've only been here for I've been here roughly 2-3 months. So I'm still in the learning phase as far as learning my job, but it's very rewarding and it's a lot of work because we have to take care of our National Guard and Reserve to get them ready for deployment. So our National Guard and Reserve are just as important as the active duty. As far as like to elaborate a little bit more, as far as the mentorship, I wanted to do it because when I was younger in the military, I lacked it when it came to mentorship. So I pulled things from my leaders, because as leaders, it's your job to teach, coach, and mentor the soldiers that you have beneath you anyway. So I had leaders that did their job, but there's things that I wanted to know for my career field, like what do I need to do to get ahead? Like who's going to actually take care of me and, and show me what they did to get promoted in their career. So didn't really have a formal mentor. So that was one thing that I was lacking. So I would just pull from all the seniors that I met across, my career where I worked, and I pulled from them. And then eventually, once I became a senior, I can't remember the unit, but I want to say it was Fort Hood. I just got to the point I said, I got to give back. I'm a senior non-commissioned officer. I didn't have the mentorship. So I know there's a junior leader that needs it, regardless if it's a male or female, they need it. And it doesn't matter that I'm not in their chain of command, because there's something I could teach them that their leaders are not giving them, because just because they can't relate to them, or they just feel comfortable with someone else. And I've actually noticed that since I've been a moderator on a few platforms on social media for non-commissioned officers, and of course women mentorship forums too. And it is vital even now, more with the changes that's going on in the military as a whole, not just the Army, but the military, to where you can be relevant and teach as much as you can before your time is up. So I just feel like it's my duty and my obligation to give back.
And thank you for that. And that's definitely true. I see the need for that, and I understand the need for that, because when I was in, you always want to search out those mentors, that positive role model. And of course, like in any organization, you always have the good leaders and you have the bad leaders, and you can learn from both, because even those bad leaders, you can learn from what not to do. And with the good leaders, of course, you can learn a ton of information. And I like how you said that it's not necessarily just people in your chain of command or your subordinates or your soldiers, but soldiers across the units.
Right.
Because whoever needs you needs you. It doesn't matter if they're your subordinate or not. They need you, and they need that mentorship. So I really like that you said that and that you brought that to light. Is the book out yet with Camouflage Sisters?
Yes, ma'am. That was the first installment.
Okay.
She's on Lila Holly. She's actually on her third installment now. So that was actually her first book. And in my chapter, I actually talk about mentorship. Just like what I expressed to you and talked to you about, is pretty much how I felt and why I wanted to do more within my community and outside my community, as far as military community, just to be there for somebody, to be there for a soldier if they need something. Because at one point I didn't have that. I had leaders, don't get me wrong, but I didn't have that one. That leader that took the next step and said, hey, let me show you what I did to get here. Or if I had any questions, I had somebody else to go to. It's pretty much what I wanted to be able to do for them, because I didn't have that.
Now, I know you're still active duty. So if at any time you don't want to answer a question or you want to kind of tiptoe around it, I get it, especially with your position. But I do want to ask, what are some of the hardships that you faced during your time in the military? And how did you overcome those hardships, or how do you deal with those? So, for instance, I know a lot of females have experienced military sexual trauma, PTSD from combat, or PTSD from other traumatic events, lack of leadership, just whatever. What are some hardships that you've personally experienced? And what is your advice to those who maybe currently experience it that are still in the military?
Wow. Challenges. I've had challenges throughout my whole entire career. So the experience that I had, I've actually had to fight. That's pretty much how I felt. Like I had to fight for every promotion. Like it's not going to come easy. It's not meant to come easy, because you have to work for it. You still have to, when you're a junior enlisted, you have boards that you have to go to. Once you become a senior, there is a DA board. So there is not at your level of headquarters, Department of the Army selection. But during each promotion, I just felt like it was like I had to prove myself being worthy of being a leader. And I don't know if you understand what I mean by that. You shouldn't have to feel that way. It should be to where your leaders, they trust you, you have their support. But at times, it's like my whole entire career. I'm not even saying right now I'm a master sergeant, but I'm talking about from sergeant all the way up until now where I'm at. It's like every position I've been where I had to go, it's like I felt like I had to prove myself. I don't understand why that is, but it just is how I felt. And don't get me wrong, you do have, your competition. It shouldn't be that way, but the way the military is set up, you're competing with your peers anyway for promotion. But sometimes you are perceived as something that you're not.
Do you think race and or gender played a factor in that?
I don't want to say much for race, but I do know there's stereotypes. I want to say there's more of perception because the way you look, people can look at you. For me, my experience, they look at me. I'm short. I'm not tall. I smile. So I don't have a appearance of being afraid or looking like, hey, you understand what I mean?
Right. You don't have that intimidation factor off the bat because you fit the stereotype of short and smiling. So you may be looked at as soft or less of a leader. I get it. Yeah. I'm the same way. I'm short and I love to smile and laugh, so I get it.
But the challenges that I did, what happened to me was I ended up being something that I wasn't. I had to have this persona of, a hard charger, don't mess with her, this and that and the other. So guess what I had to do? I had to change my tone of voice. I had to look angry. I ended up being angry at times, not because of towards anyone, but just the way I was being treated. Because some people look at you as you're a joke, but not because you're petite, small. Oh, okay, So then I had to be something else. I had to start my voice. I had to change my voice. I had to change the way I talked. I had everything about me that was not true. I ended up being something else. So then I started being angry. Then I started stressing more because now I'm trying to do all these things, perfection and all this other stuff. Because of course you're competing with your peers. You're doing all these things to be the best, but reality is you still have imperfections. You have to embrace it and do the best you can, but at the same time, these are all the things that I had to deal with. So I really struggled with being something that I wasn't, and that's what I had to deal with, and I overcame it. And I want to say it was more when I was in Army Sustainment Command. This was when I was, and this is what I mentioned this in Camouflage Sisters book too. I was in the Army Sustainment Command at Rock Island. And I actually got assigned there in 2006. And the difference was I actually worked with civilians. So when you're not with military and you got to work with civilians, guess what? Now you have to focus on how you talk to people. I went to EO training during that time. That was another time I also had to take a step back and see my baggage. And that's what it was. It was some emotions that I was dealing with over time. And not being true to myself or who I was. I was, I had a mask on, being something just so I could make it. When you're in those units, those hard charging units, you're not trying to look soft because you got to execute. You got to do things. You got to put out orders. You got to, you don't want soldiers looking at you like they're not going to listen to you. So what do you have to do? You have to be very direct, aggressive. And that's how I was. And I was like, you know what? That's not how I want to be. That's not the right way to communicate. And that's, I talked a little bit about that in Camouflage Sisters book as well. But that was one of my challenges that I had to deal with. I did not have to deal with directly sexual assault, thank God. But it's unfortunate that we have a lot of sisters and brothers in arms that deal with that. But sexual harassment, that happened when I was a private. I mean, it was, the whistle blowing, talking about how you look in your uniform, all this type of stuff. As a private, I didn't know better. I was like, what are you talking about? I was in the barracks and at the time, I've been in 21 years now. we had EO training, but I don't think it was emphasized as much during that time period, like in 96, 97 time period. So I got a lot of those, when they saw me in my clothes, like, oh, look at you, you're like, who is this? Like, why are they talking to me like this? But you don't know. Right, and who are you going to talk to? I've experienced sexual harassment earlier in my career.
So for anyone who's currently serving and going through that, I guess you want to say identity crisis, for lack of better terms, of putting on that face and, like you said, that mask to look like that leader, to look bold and confident, or to be whatever they feel that's not 100% them, but you feel that it's necessary in order to go up the ladder and promote. What advice would you have for them? How to manage that? How to balance that difference in personality? Do you adapt? Is it growing? Is it learning experience? How do we work through that?
Well, I would say, just out of my experience, like once I actually had the self-discovery, it takes a while. It's not going to happen overnight, depending on, where you at, where the environment you're in. You can have a female, a woman, a professional woman that's in the military. She could serve her organization, be the only female soldier there, and everybody else are male. So of course you're going to adapt to your environment. You know what I'm saying? You're going to adapt to where you are, but at the same time, you still have to be true to yourself. Just because you're adapting to the environment is just so you understand the culture of the organization, but you still got to be true to yourself and who you are as a person and as a leader. And it takes time. It takes time, and you have to just be honest with yourself and with your coworkers, with your leaders of who you are, and if you have issues, you bring it up. But I would say that you definitely have to take the time and figure out that, if you're actually being something that you're not, if you're not comfortable, your feelings, your emotion is gonna come out. You're gonna know. You're gonna end up being anxious or frustrated or angry. Okay, why are you feeling that way? What is this emotion for? You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to really dig in deep and find out what it is and peel the onion and find out and fix it. But it's internal, it's yourself. And I honestly had to seek help for anxiety because of some of the issues that I had. So I would tell any soldier, regardless of where they are, what service, they're in. They could be in Army, Air Force, no matter, they're still a brother and sister of arms. They need to get help. That's the most important thing I could say.
And it's nothing wrong with getting help.
No, definitely not. If anything, it makes them stronger when they get help.
Definitely.
It made me stronger.
I am such an advocate for that. Just get help and don't be afraid to ask. I mean, it takes courage to ask for help. So don't look at it as being weak or anything like that.
Yes, but I would definitely say that it's more internal. And once you actually identify what those emotions are, it's okay, why am I feeling this way? And work through those emotions. It's not going to happen overnight. Right. But it's something that you have to deal with, because if you want the military to be your career, because you have soldiers that have like less than 10 years, if they wanted to make a career of it, they have to identify those issues that they're having so they can fix them to make them better, so they can actually succeed and be successful with their career and push forward.
And speaking of making a career out of it, what encouraged you to keep going to over 20 years?
My why is the reason why I'm still here in the military. So I wanted to make my family proud. Right now, my family, I have my immediate family, but I have my husband. He pretty much supported me the whole entire time. He's retired now out of the National Guard. But if it weren't for him, I probably would have still been in, but it would have been like a little more of a struggle. But I had his support the whole time, and I still have it. College education. I don't care. I took one class every semester, or once I finished, I took another class. I just continued to take classes because that was the reason why. That was my number one reason why I joined the military, is for opportunities for my education. Because since my parents could not provide it, I wanted to have an education. And so I'm still working on my master's. but hopefully I'll have it within like less than 2 years. But that's the reason. Those are the reasons why, to be a role model for my family and for others. Those are the main reasons why I still serve.
Now, I talked to, as I've said before, you're the first active duty, still serving person I've talked to. And so I talk a lot about transitioning and the woes of transition. Are you afraid of that transition process?
You know, I'm not going to lie, I am. But now I'm more confident because I'm actually putting things in place. Whereas in the beginning, I didn't have anything in place. I knew, okay, I'm going to backwards plan and make sure I do Soldier for Life. But then it's like, okay, what do I love that I do now that I want to do when I retire? And so right now, I'm actually working on coaching, doing a coaching program, but I'm in an extensive coaching program right now to figure out exactly what are those things that I'm going to do. So then when it's time for me to transition, I'm not going to say it's going to be perfect, because even if I change something or something shifts, at least I know, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and not try to figure it out like a few months before I retire. So I have more confidence now, more than ever. A few months ago, I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Because it's like, this is my life. This is my life. I've served over 20 years. I was a young girl after high school. This is all I know. Like, I live, breathe, this is military, so it's like I have to like change over my mind process, like completely different, when I retire into another job or another position or career, whatever I do, everyone's not going to understand what I'm saying. So I can't use acronyms and all this stuff like people know,
Yes. And the culture is so different. And you'll find out stuff that that we took for granted while we were in. When you get out, you miss it, and you may not realize. Like, at first, I didn't realize what I was missing, and it's like, just having somebody to call, having somebody worried about you, because as leaders, you're accountable for your soldiers, and just having that and knowing somebody knows if you're missing or if you're not around or if you're sick, and having a mission, having that purpose, having that identity. That's the stuff we don't talk about when we transition, which really hit home for me.
Yeah, my girlfriend, she mentioned everything you're saying when she got her new job, and she was just like, oh my God. So I everything you just said is everything she said to me. I truly believe with having a network of veterans around me, surrounding me, supporting me, that I will be fine.
Yes,
I will be fine.
Definitely connect with other veterans. Definitely. Because they, like you said, they understand that language. They understand the acronyms. They just understand the lifestyle, everything. And you don't have to explain it. So yes, definitely connect with other veterans. That is something that I didn't do in the beginning, that doing now really, really helps.
Yes.
So tell us more about tell us more about your coaching and your vision for that.
My vision, I pretty much want to focus my clients. I want it to be more focused for military and for women that serve in like service type positions. So like police officers, those type, where it's similar to the military, because you pretty much are in harm's way. You have to serve. You're like a public servant. That's pretty much who I want as far as my clientele, because you gotta bring it down. You can't serve everyone. You only can serve so many, but eventually you'll get more different clients to serve over time. But so my program, my coaching program, I wanted to focus on emotional barriers that women deal with, and some of those emotional barriers, perfection, dealing with perfection and the impacts of that, and how they can overcome it to be their best.
Yes.
So that's coaching and consulting of what I'm going to do.
How can people find the book that you co-authored, and how can people get in touch with you?
So they can get in touch with me. I'm on Facebook. My government name is my Facebook name. It's Lenita, Lenita Cornett, Cornett. They can find me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. Camouflage Sisters. I personally don't have a landing page to have individuals order through me, but our book is already in Amazon. You can order it on Amazon. You can order it directly through me. I actually have books on hand. I have over 30 books right now. And then Lila Holly, she is my transition coach for Camouflage Sisters LLC. So they can actually go to her website as well and see all the books. So the first installation is there, the second one, and the third one. But the first one, the one that I actually co-authored, you can actually get it through me directly. So you can easily find me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. My same name is on Instagram too.
Her government name. Well, her first government name, because now your government name is Master Sergeant Cornett.
Well, my first name and last name, you will be able to find me. So I didn't know if you wanted me to say at such and such. I don't know if you want me to say that.
It's up to you. And I'm connected to her as well. And your information will be posted in the show notes. So we'll have links and stuff so people can easily find you. So no worries.
Oh, okay. Great. Okay, great. So yes. And if you have military personnel that are active duty, I am a moderator on a few mentorship programs. It's easy to find as well as Women's Mentorship Network. Women's Mentorship Network is open to everyone. So when I say everyone, civilians, veterans, active duty, all services. So it's not just focused on Army, it's on all. And the focus for Women's Mentorship Network is to celebrate gender integration, to pretty much support that. So it's open to men, women, not just women. It says Women's Mentorship Network, but it's open to everyone. I'm also a moderator for the 3E Network and Sisterhood. So the 3 E's is elite, engaged, and empowered. So 3E Network and Sisterhood is another network on Facebook. And I also created one for Instagram. But this page is specifically for women, active duty women of all branches and service. So it's not just Army, it's for all. And to include National Guard and Reserve, and Women's Mentorship Network as well is National Guard and Reserve. But the thing is, for 3E Network and Sisterhood, it's only for active duty, to include all branches of service and National Guard and Reserve. I'm also a moderator for another group similar to 3E, but this one is centric to female leaders that are non-commissioned officers in the Army, African-American non-commissioned officers in the Army, and it's called 3ANS is the acronym, and it's Army Non-Commissioned Officers United, and you can find that on Facebook as well. And then there's one more that I'm a moderator for, is the NCO Support Forum. And this one is open to Army NCOs, men and women, active duty, and National Guard and Reserve. So like I said, I moderate a lot of forums. I'm also a member of the Camouflage Sisterhood on Facebook as well. And Lila Holly is the lead for the Camouflage Sisters. So it's a lot of Facebook pages and groups, mentorship, but that's what I love to do.
Right, and connections. I wish I had known about that while I was serving. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for moderating those forums, because that is very important, and it creates that connection outside of the everyday work environment, because sometimes we need to reach outside and talk to other people who share similar interests or similar backgrounds, so that we understand that we're not alone. So thank you so much for doing what you do. And yes, it's a lot. I don't see how you do it all while you're still active duty and a senior leader.
I'm a moderator. I'm not the founder of the forums. I support my non-commissioned officers, my senior leaders, and anything. If someone says, hey, I look forward to you supporting and being a moderator, I say, hey, that's what I do. Master Sergeant Duke Smith is the founder of the NCO Support Forum, And then Master Sergeant Charmaine Reyna is the founder for 3ANS and 3ENS. The two ones that I just told you about as far as the African American Non-Commissioned Officer United, and then the 3E Network and Sisterhood. So she's the founder. I support her to moderate. So we have to have that support, because you can't do it by yourself. You got to have a team. And they definitely have teams for all of them, even the Women's Mentorship Network. I'm a moderator for that one as well. But the founder is Lieutenant Colonel Robinson. She is the founder of that one as well.
Wow. And I would love to connect with all of those people who you mentioned as well, if you don't mind. Yes,
definitely. I'll definitely give you their information. That's no problem, because I appreciate them for creating these forums for our leaders, because these are our future leaders. At the end of the day, when I'm gone, at least I know that I have those leaders that are equipped to teach and coach and mentor other junior leaders.
Definitely. And I can already tell you're a coach by heart, because I hear some of the things that you're saying and that you emphasize. So I already hear it in there. So that aspiring coach, you're a coach already, coach and mentor already.
Well, thank you.
You already have it there. And I mean, from your military experience alone, that automatically teaches you coaching and mentorship and leadership as well. So again, Thank you for everything that you do. If there was one piece of advice that you wanted to give our listeners, what would it be? I know that's very broad, but.
I would say, I would say that you're not alone.
Love it. Thank you so much, Master Sergeant. And coach Lenita Cornett. Thank you so much for this interview. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for your service too.
You're welcome.
You've been listening to the Veteran Woman Podcast. If you want to connect with Ariel and let her know what you thought of today's show, be sure to head over to www.theveteranwoman.com and follow her on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter @The Veteran Woman.